Marcus wiped the sweat from his brow as he climbed over the twisted metal and broken concrete of the old city block. The neon lights above flickered weakly, casting long shadows on the cracked streets. It had been another long day of scavenging parts for his small repair shop, and the city around him felt colder than usual. Everywhere he looked, there were signs of decay, abandoned buildings, broken machines, and the distant hum of sirens that no one seemed to care about. As he stepped carefully over a pile of rusted metal, a faint sound reached his ears. It was soft at first, almost like a whisper, then a small, desperate squeak. Marcus froze. His hand instinctively went to the wrench at his belt. "Who's there?" he called, his voice low but firm. There was no answer, only another small squeak. He followed the sound cautiously, ducking under a fallen sign that swayed with the wind. Then he saw them. 3 tiny creatures huddled together behind a cracked wall. Their scales shimmered faintly in the dim light, golden and green, and their eyes were wide with fear. They looked like miniature dragons. Marcus blinked. Dragons? Here. In the middle of the city? The smallest one shivered and made a sound like a tiny growl. It curled closer to its siblings as if trying to hide. Marcus slowly knelt down, keeping his hands visible. "Hey, it's okay," he said gently. "I won't hurt you." The little dragons didn't move at first. Their heads peeked out cautiously, watching him with large, intelligent eyes. Marcus could feel his heart pounding. He had heard stories about dragons as a child, stories that said they were powerful and dangerous. But these were small, weak, and scared. And they needed help. A sudden noise made Marcus flinch. From the other side of the street, a group of older kids, the city's usual bullies, were laughing and running toward him. They carried sticks and old pipes. Marcus looked back at the dragons. They were defenseless. He couldn't just leave them. Not now. He stood, positioning himself between the creatures and the bullies. "Back off," he shouted, trying to sound as big and intimidating as possible. The bullies laughed. "What's this, Marcus? Tiny pets you found? They look weird." One of the bullies swung a pipe toward the dragons. Without thinking, Marcus grabbed a piece of debris and blocked the swing. Sparks flew as metal hit metal. The dragons squealed, pressed against the wall, and Marcus felt a surge of determination. He wouldn't let anyone hurt them. The bullies circled him, jeering. "Step aside, old man," one sneered. "These things aren't yours." Marcus tightened his grip on the debris. "They're alive," he said, voice steady. "That makes them worth protecting." The standoff lasted only a moment longer before the bullies finally ran off, laughing and mocking him from a distance. Marcus let out a long breath, leaning against the wall, sweat and dust clinging to him. The dragons slowly crept out from their hiding place, looking at him with tiny heads tilted, as if trying to understand what had just happened. Marcus knelt again, this time slowly extending his hand. "It's okay," he said softly. "You're safe now." One of the dragons, the smallest and shiniest of the 3, stepped forward hesitantly and sniffed his hand. Its little wings fluttered nervously. Marcus smiled. It was a small trust, but a start. He looked around. The streets were quiet again, but he knew it wouldn't stay that way. The city was full of dangers, and these little dragons had no idea how dangerous life could be. Marcus made a decision. He couldn't leave them here. Not tonight, not ever. He gently scooped the dragons into his jacket, careful not to hurt them. They squeaked and wriggled, but after a moment, they seemed to calm. As he walked back toward his workshop, Marcus's mind raced. Questions swirled: where had they come from? Why were they here? Could anyone else see them? Something about them felt different, special. Their scales glowed faintly, and their eyes held intelligence he had never seen in any animal. Marcus realized he had stumbled into something extraordinary, something that might change his life forever. And deep down, he felt a strange mix of fear and excitement. For the first time in years, Marcus felt needed. He had spent so long surviving, keeping to himself, avoiding trouble. But now, with these tiny dragons depending on him, he felt a spark of courage he hadn't felt in a long time. Protecting them wasn't just a choice, it was a mission. As the night deepened and the city lights flickered, Marcus carried the baby dragons through the alleys toward his workshop. He didn't know what awaited him, but one thing was certain, he would not let anyone, or anything, harm them. Not when he had the chance to be a hero. And as the dragons nestled into a makeshift bed of blankets and old cloth, Marcus noticed a faint, strange glow in their eyes. A hint of something powerful, something hidden. Whatever it was, he had no idea that their mother, more powerful than anyone could imagine, was watching, somewhere far above the city, waiting for the right moment to reveal herself. Marcus didn't know it yet, but his courage tonight would set off a chain of events that would shock the entire city. Marcus spent the next few days trying to hide the baby dragons in his small workshop at the edge of the city. The space was cramped and filled with tools, spare parts, and the faint smell of oil, but it was safe, at least, he hoped it was. Each night, he watched the tiny creatures sleep, their scales faintly glowing in the dim light, and he felt a strange mix of awe and responsibility. These little dragons were fragile, but their eyes seemed wiser than any animal he had ever seen. At first, the dragons stayed in the corner, trembling whenever Marcus moved. But gradually, they began exploring their new home. One of them, the golden-scaled one, climbed on a stack of crates, testing its tiny wings. Marcus watched with a smile. He had never seen anything like this before. Even with all the city's machines, its dangers, and its chaos, something pure and alive had entered his life. The calm didn't last long. One afternoon, while Marcus was repairing an old hover engine, he heard shouting outside. He froze. The bullies had returned. This time, there were more of them, and they carried pipes, bats, and metal rods. Marcus' heart pounded. He had to protect the dragons again, but he knew it would be harder this time. They had seen him before, and now they would come prepared. The bullies smashed the workshop door, their laughter echoing in the small space. Marcus grabbed a wrench and stood in front of the dragons. "Back off," he shouted. "Leave them alone." "Or what, Marcus?" one sneered, swinging a metal pipe. "You're just one guy. You can't fight us all." Marcus' mind raced. He couldn't let them get to the dragons. He ducked and rolled to the side, hitting a crate that sent sparks flying. The bullies stumbled, giving him a moment to grab the largest dragon and tuck it safely under his jacket. The other two hissed and tried to fly, but their small wings weren't strong enough yet. Marcus motioned for them to stay low and moved toward the back exit. The fight spilled into the alley outside. Marcus swung his wrench and dodged attacks, using the narrow space to his advantage. He knew the alley's twists and corners better than anyone. Each swing was precise, each move calculated. The bullies were bigger and stronger, but Marcus had courage, skill, and determination. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the bullies retreated, panting and furious. Marcus leaned against the wall, breathing heavily. The dragons were safe for now, but he knew this wouldn't be the last encounter. The city was full of dangers, and the bullies would not give up so easily. That evening, as he patched the workshop and gave the dragons a warm place to sleep, Marcus thought about what Leora had told him a few days before, rumors about a dragon queen who ruled the city from the shadows. Could these baby dragons be connected to her? Their strange markings and glowing scales suggested something extraordinary. But what did it mean? And would the queen come for them? The night passed quietly, but Marcus couldn't sleep. He watched the dragons move in their little corner, tiny claws tapping on the floor, their eyes curious and alert. He realized they trusted him now. They looked at him like he could protect them, like he could be their guardian. And for the first time in years, Marcus felt needed, not just surviving for himself, but living to protect someone else. The next morning, Marcus set out to gather supplies. He needed food for the dragons, materials to strengthen the workshop, and anything else that might help him keep them safe. As he walked through the city, he noticed more signs of danger. Gangs controlled certain districts, and the whispers of power and corruption hung in the air like smoke. But Marcus didn't falter. His courage had grown stronger, fueled by the dragon's trust. While gathering food, he saw one of the bullies lurking near the market. Their eyes met, and Marcus knew the trouble was far from over. But instead of fear, he felt determination. He had faced them before, and he could do it again. And he wouldn't just fight for himself this time, he would fight for the tiny lives depending on him. Back at the workshop, Marcus set up a small training space for the dragons. He tried to encourage them to flap their wings, to explore, and to be brave. The dragons struggled at first, stumbling and squeaking, but slowly they improved. Marcus cheered for each small success, feeling proud. He realized that courage could be learned, even in creatures so small. And he began to understand that his courage wasn't just about fighting, it was about teaching, protecting, and believing in the impossible. But the city was not done testing him. One night, a shadow moved across the workshop window. Marcus froze, holding a tiny dragon close. He peered out, heart racing. For a moment, he thought it was another gang coming for them. But the shadow didn't move closer. It lingered, watching. Marcus had no idea who, or what, it was. The dragon stirred in his arms, sensing something unknown. Their small hearts beat fast, and their glowing eyes reflected fear and curiosity. Marcus held them tighter, whispering that it was okay, that he would protect them no matter what. And deep in the city, far above the streets, a presence stirred. The mother dragon, the one everyone whispered about but no one had seen, was aware. She watched the tiny humans and her children, testing, observing, waiting. Marcus had no idea that every choice he made, every act of courage, was being noticed by a power far greater than anything he had faced before. Marcus didn't know what was coming. But he knew this: he couldn't run, he couldn't hide. He had chosen to protect the baby dragons. And now, nothing could stop him from standing by them, even as the city's dangers grew closer and the shadows deepened. The morning sun barely reached Marcus' workshop, but he was already awake. The baby dragons were curled together in their little nest, their tiny bodies rising and falling with soft breaths. Marcus watched them for a moment, amazed at how fast they had grown. Each day, they seemed stronger, braver, and more curious. But Marcus knew this peace would not last. The city was full of dangers, and rumors about dragons were spreading fast. He was repairing a broken hover engine when a knock came at the workshop door. Marcus stiffened. Visitors were rare in this part of the city, and unexpected knocks often meant trouble. He grabbed a wrench, slowly opening the door. A young woman stood there, her dark hair tied back, eyes sharp and focused. She looked ordinary at first glance, but there was a quiet strength in her stance, a confidence Marcus had not seen in anyone for years. "Marcus?" she asked. Her voice was firm, but not threatening. "I'm Leora. I know about the dragons." Marcus froze, gripping the wrench tighter. You know about them?" he asked. "How do you know?" Leora stepped inside, glancing at the tiny dragons as they stirred in their nest. "I've been tracking them," she said. "Their mother, she's not just any dragon. She rules parts of this city from the shadows. People call her the Dragon Queen. And these babies, they are her children." Marcus felt a cold shiver run down his spine. "She rules the city," he whispered. "What do you mean? How powerful is she?" Leora's eyes met his. "Very powerful. Stronger than anything humans have faced. She can destroy buildings, manipulate gangs, even influence leaders, all without anyone knowing it's her. And now, her children are here, unprotected. That makes the city dangerous for you and them both." Marcus swallowed hard. He had protected the dragons from the bullies, from the gangs, even from the streets themselves. But he had never imagined the hidden dragon queen watching everything from the shadows. His courage felt small compared to this unknown power. "Why are you telling me this?" Marcus asked, still holding a dragon close. "Because you've already shown courage," Leora said. "The mother dragon is testing you. Every choice you make, every act of bravery, she notices. Most humans would have run, would have left the babies to fend for themselves. But not you." Marcus looked down at the dragons in his arms. Their little eyes seemed to understand more than he could explain. Somehow, they trusted him completely. And now he understood why Leora had come. The choices he made would determine whether the babies survived, and maybe even whether the city remained safe. "Safe?" Marcus asked, frowning. "How can I keep them safe? I'm just one person." Leora smiled faintly. "You may be just one person, but you have something rare in humans: courage, cleverness, and empathy. That can matter more than strength or numbers. But you must be careful. Others will try to take the dragons, and the queen's power is not something you can fight with fists alone." Just then, one of the baby dragons squeaked, startling them both. Marcus held it gently. Its little claws tapped on his chest as it looked up at him with bright, intelligent eyes. Marcus realized the dragons were not just fragile, they were alert, curious, and learning quickly. They were counting on him. "Tell me what to do," Marcus said firmly. "I'll protect them, no matter what." Leora nodded. "First, you need to prepare. Make the workshop secure. Hide exits, reinforce walls, set traps if you can. The gangs, the bullies, even other curious humans, they will come for the dragons sooner or later. And second, you need to understand them. Learn their habits, their strengths, and their weaknesses. You cannot protect what you do not understand." Marcus worked all afternoon, following Leora's instructions. He blocked side exits, strengthened doors, and set up alarms made from spare parts and wires. The baby dragons watched him, occasionally hissing or squeaking as if giving approval, or maybe advice. Marcus found himself talking to them as he worked, explaining each step and comforting them when they trembled. By evening, the workshop felt stronger, safer. Marcus wiped the sweat from his brow and looked at Leora. "Is this enough?" he asked. "For now," Leora said. "But the real test will come soon. The mother dragon will notice. She always notices. And when she does, you must be ready to show her that your courage is real. She will not forgive weakness." Marcus felt a mix of fear and determination. He had protected the dragons from bullies, from gangs, from the harsh city itself. But this was different. This was a power he could not imagine, a presence so strong that one mistake could destroy everything. And yet, he did not feel like running. He glanced at the dragons nestled in the corner. They looked up at him, small eyes full of trust. Marcus realized something he had known all along, but now it burned brighter than ever: courage was not the absence of fear. Courage was standing up when fear pressed down, protecting others when the danger was greater than yourself, and believing that even the smallest actions could matter. The night deepened, and the city outside grew quiet. But Marcus knew it was only a temporary calm. Somewhere above the streets, somewhere hidden, the Dragon Queen watched. She had noticed the human who dared protect her children, the one who refused to leave them in danger. And soon, Marcus would have to face the consequences of his courage. For now, though, he simply held the dragons close, whispered reassurances, and promised silently that he would not fail. The baby dragons were not just creatures to protect, they were a part of a story much larger than Marcus had ever imagined. And as he drifted into a restless sleep, he could not yet know how deeply the Queen's power would shape everything he fought to protect. Marcus spent the night planning. He barely slept, listening to the soft sounds of the baby dragons breathing in their little nest. Every noise outside made him tense. The city was alive with dangers, and he knew that sooner or later, the mother dragon herself would appear. The thought both terrified and thrilled him. He had faced bullies, gangs, and the streets, but this would be something far greater. By morning, he had gathered what he could: tools, ropes, spare metal, and a few small gadgets he had built over the years. Every piece of equipment was a potential shield, a potential weapon, or a trap. Marcus didn't know exactly what he would face, but he knew one thing: he could not let fear stop him. The baby dragons depended on him, and he would not fail them. He led the dragons carefully through the alleys, taking paths only he knew. The city seemed quieter than usual, almost as if it sensed what was coming. Shadows stretched long across the streets, and the neon lights flickered weakly. Marcus felt eyes on him, though he could not see who, or what, they belonged to. The smallest dragon clung to his shoulder, while the other two followed closely, hissing softly whenever he slowed. Finally, he reached the center of the district Leora had described, the place rumored to be the Dragon Mother's domain. The buildings were taller here, older, and strangely silent. Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. Something about the area made him instinctively cautious. A deep shadow moved across the rooftops. Marcus froze. He could feel the weight of it, something immense and intelligent, watching. Then the shadow descended. A figure appeared before him, tall and commanding, with scales glimmering faintly under the dim light. Her eyes were sharp, filled with power, and yet, curiosity. The Dragon Mother. Marcus tightened his grip on the smallest dragon and stepped forward. I protect them, he said, voice steady though his heart raced. I won't let anyone hurt them. Not you, not anyone. The mother dragon tilted her head, watching him carefully. Her presence was overwhelming, like a force of nature. Marcus felt small in comparison, but he refused to look away. He remembered what Leora had told him: courage was not the absence of fear, it was standing strong despite it. You are brave, she said finally, her voice deep, echoing in his mind as if it bypassed sound itself. Most humans would run, would hide. Yet you face me for your children. Why? Marcus swallowed. Because they are innocent, he said. Because they trust me. And because, if I didn't, who else would? For a moment, silence fell. The mother dragon's gaze seemed to pierce through him, judging not just his words but the depth of his heart. The baby dragons squeaked softly, looking up at her. Their little eyes were filled with recognition, as if they knew their mother was near. Then she spoke again. Your courage, it is rare. Humans are weak in many ways, but some, like you, carry strength in their hearts that rivals even the greatest dragons. You protect not for glory, not for gain, but because it is right. That is why I have watched you. Marcus felt a mix of relief and awe. He had risked everything, and the mother dragon had seen it. But he also knew that her words were not a promise of safety. She could destroy him with a thought. She could take her children and leave him behind. Yet he did not flinch. I don't care about glory, he said. I care about doing the right thing. I care about them. That's enough. The dragon mother's eyes softened slightly. She lowered her head to the level of the dragons. The babies chirped and fluttered their wings. Marcus realized that she was not only testing him but also teaching him. Teaching him that courage could earn respect, even from beings far stronger than any human. Finally, she spoke once more. You have passed the test. Your bravery is true. I will not harm you, nor will I take my children from you. Instead, I entrust them to you. Protect them, guide them, and continue to show that courage can be found in even the smallest hearts. Marcus could barely believe it. His legs felt weak, his chest heavy with relief. He nodded, barely able to speak. I will. I promise. The mother dragon's presence slowly lifted, and the shadows receded. Marcus looked down at the baby dragons, now chirping happily, and felt a warmth in his chest. They were safe. For now, at least. But more than that, he understood something bigger. Courage, empathy, and the willingness to act, even when afraid, could change the world. Even the greatest powers could recognize it. As Marcus led the dragons back to his workshop, he realized that his life had changed forever. He had faced the ultimate test, and he had passed. The city itself seemed brighter somehow, as if acknowledging his courage. And for the first time in years, Marcus felt a deep, lasting hope, not just for himself, but for the small lives who had trusted him completely. He didn't know what challenges awaited in the future, but he did know one thing: no matter how strong the shadows, no matter how dangerous the city became, he would stand. He would protect. He would fight. And he would never let courage die, not in himself, not in the dragons, and not in the heart of the city. Marcus returned to his workshop with the baby dragons, his heart still racing from the encounter with their mother. The city felt different now, quieter, almost respectful, as if it had noticed what had just happened. The baby dragons nestled into their little bed of blankets and rags, chirping softly as they explored the small space. Marcus knelt beside them, brushing a hand gently over their shimmering scales. He thought about everything that had happened, the bullies, the gangs, the city's dangers, and finally the test of courage he had faced with the dragon mother. It all felt like a dream, yet the tiny, warm bodies in his arms reminded him it was real. He had protected them, not for glory, not for reward, but simply because it was right. And now, the mother dragon had acknowledged that bravery. Marcus knew that the city would continue to be dangerous. Others might try to harm the dragons or challenge him. But he also knew something powerful: courage was contagious. His actions, small as they might seem, had made a difference. And perhaps, in some small way, the people of the city could learn from that example too. Days passed, and Marcus began to teach the baby dragons how to use their tiny wings, how to move safely, and how to trust their instincts. At first, they were clumsy, stumbling over small obstacles, fluttering and falling. But Marcus was patient. Every success, no matter how small, was met with encouragement. He spoke to them constantly, as if they could understand every word. And, somehow, they seemed to. The city began to change around him, too. Word spread quietly of the human who had protected the dragons, the one who had faced their mother with courage and not fear. People whispered about Marcus in the streets, some skeptical, some in awe. Small acts of respect and kindness began to ripple outward. Even the gangs seemed to tread more carefully in the district near his workshop. Courage, Marcus realized, had power beyond the physical. It could shape minds, hearts, and entire neighborhoods. One evening, while Marcus worked on a small mechanical device for the dragon's training, a shadow fell over the workshop doorway. He froze, heart pounding. But instead of danger, it was Leora. She smiled, eyes bright with excitement. "They're learning fast," she said, glancing at the dragons who were now practicing gentle leaps and flaps. "And so are you. I've never seen a human handle such responsibility with so much patience and courage." Marcus smiled back. "They've taught me as much as I've taught them," he said. "I never knew protecting something so small could feel so important." Leora nodded. "That is what makes humans extraordinary. You do not have the natural strength of dragons, but you have something even greater, the ability to care, to act when it is hard, and to keep going even when fear is overwhelming. That is what the Dragon Queen noticed. And that is why she trusted you with her children." Marcus felt a warmth spread through him. For so long, he had lived only for survival. The city had taught him to be cautious, to look out only for himself. But now, he had found a purpose greater than anything he had imagined. He had found trust, courage, and a small family who depended on him completely. As the night deepened, Marcus sat with the baby dragons on his lap. He thought about the future. The mother dragon's power was vast, but now he had allies, knowledge, and courage. He knew that challenges would come, but he was ready. Not with weapons alone, but with determination, empathy, and a willingness to act when it mattered most. Then, unexpectedly, the smallest dragon leaned forward and nuzzled his cheek. Marcus laughed softly, a sound full of relief and joy. It was a small moment, but it carried a powerful truth: courage was not about grand gestures alone. It was in these moments, in protecting the vulnerable, in standing firm when fear pressed down, in believing that one human could make a difference. The mother dragon, far above the city, watched silently from her hidden domain. Marcus did not see her, but he felt her presence in the gentle glow of the dragon's eyes, in their small, trusting chirps. She had recognized his bravery, and in return, he had protected what mattered most. Their bond, though unusual, was strong. And in that bond, a lesson echoed: humans were capable of extraordinary courage. Days turned into weeks. The dragons grew stronger, learning more about the world, exploring safely under Marcus' watchful eye. Marcus, in turn, grew more confident, more aware of the strength that came from doing the right thing, even when it was hard. Together, they built a life in the workshop, small but full of hope, courage, and wonder. And in the heart of the city, among the flickering lights and the constant hum of life, Marcus became more than just a mechanic. He became a symbol, a reminder that one human, acting with bravery and compassion, could change the fate of even the most extraordinary creatures. The city, for all its dangers, had witnessed a quiet revolution. Not of power or violence, but of courage. And somewhere far above, the Dragon Queen smiled, knowing that her children were safe, and that humans were capable of greatness beyond what anyone had imagined. Marcus looked at the dragons one last time that night, their eyes reflecting his own hope and determination. "We'll be okay," he whispered. "Together, we'll face whatever comes next." And in that moment, the city seemed just a little brighter, the future a little more promising, and the courage of one human capable of inspiring awe in creatures both small and mighty.